Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Just to watching politics tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the Organizing Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC in Lagos State, Adewale, for discussion on President Tinubu's emergence as the chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. So good to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with regional cooperation in West Africa. How relevant is ECOWAS as a body currently?
ECOWAS is very relevant because that's the platform that firms all countries together and creating that enablement for them to do something in unison and not forgetting their interest and all of that. And it also helps to promote effective security within member states. And of course, not forgetting the main purpose of them coming together, which again is for a robust economy amongst them all. And when they stand in unison in Africa, it makes them stronger. Remember that you also have different blocks in Africa. You have the Central African bloc, you have the Eastern bloc, and you have the South African bloc, and all of that. So it's a platform for them to really firm up their purposes.
So President Tinubu is the 8th Nigerian leader. What's the significance of this for Nigeria?
The significance is that you have a square peg in a square hole. You have someone that has a plan, someone who is well-read, a product of the struggle, someone who have excelled in the private sector, who actually understand what good governance really means, and what it also means to pilot a robust economy for the purpose of the people and for the growth of the nation.
All right, so looking at all of the challenges ahead, what do you think the regional bloc has to gain from a Tinubu chairmanship?
A lot of them need leadership. The world as it is now needs leadership. There are so many things happening in the world. You have crises all over. You also have climate change problems all over. Insecurity is also there. So when you have someone that can give effective leadership, it means that it can help bring out the best from amongst member nations and also catalyze it to the center for the purpose of their own interest. I mean, when you go to AU, different countries, different blocs come together in order to advance their own interest. And you must not also forget that some of them still live within the context of their colonial structure that is there. And some of the Francophone countries are trying to pull out from their colonial structure, but again, they are still held down by one reason or the other. Nigeria being a very big country with a lot of human capital and other advantages. For them, it's a big brother coming to giving them that shoulder for them to rise on in order for them to project higher.
So before we get to that big brother issue, you've mentioned quite a few, and to corroborate your point, some have also talked about, some of the problems hindering the achievements of the ECOWAS, objectives of ECOWAS. Some have talked about civil conflicts, mismanagement of natural resources, corruption, poor health care, lack of development, lack of modern infrastructure. Where do you think the president needs to start from?
Security. For Nigeria, it gives the president a bigger spectrum to see the problem and how to coerce member nations to see it from the perspective of Nigeria, that if you intend to grow your economy, the Nigeria economy is big enough to help your economy grow. But you also must help Nigeria to secure its borders. There are so many countries, especially from the Eastern Bloc, where you have war going on, an internal crisis. It leads to a proliferation of arms. And many of these arms find their way down to Nigeria, like Libya, Sudan, and what have you. So if ECOWAS is able to stand firm, creating that buffer for Nigeria, the president, again, can use that opportunity to also speak to the Central African countries, the M bloc, to also give a shield for Nigeria, and Nigeria can also plow its resources there. I mean, if you see countries like America and big countries in Europe like UK and what have you, investing in other countries that tend to portend danger for their own state if care is not taken and if we're not well groomed. And they can also help breed terrorists and all whatnot to use their own place as a launching pad into their own country. So they go readily to invest in those countries, to making sure that their security is apt, is very okay, their economy is very okay, so that global terrorism cannot, from their own angle, launch their way into their own firmament.
So as a follow-up to that, and that's going back to his speech after his emergence as the chairman, President Tinubu said coup after coup will not be tolerated or accepted. So to what extent do you think he and his colleagues would check this?
Well, that's a very strong statement, and it's good that that statement is put forward ab initio. You have about 2 countries, if not 3, already occupied by military junta and all of that. That can give courage and moral booster to other countries that are yet to witness such things. And it's better that the president of Nigeria give a very strong statement, and he has the wherewithal to also make his statement work. And beyond that, he has said he's going to talk to Europe and America and bigger countries of the world to come to support Africa and making sure that such thing never happen again, and also to frustrate those guys out of government is very important. If you don't do that, they will tend to, fester the more and expand their territories.
So what kind of partnership do you think President Tinubu needs from other member states?
One, like I said, security is very important because we desire that right now. A lot of these insurgents that come into Nigeria are not Nigerians. Many of them are not Nigerians. The arms that are brought in is not from Nigeria. So if you have them, helping you to secure your borders, it reduces the pain in you. I mean, look at Idris Deby when he was alive. Deby was able to cover that far-flung for us. And when he was taken out of the equation, you can see what really happened. So you need to harness your strength around these countries. And some of them also are weak in terms of securing their own space. So you need to harness your own potential across all of these places in order for you to be safe. And when that safety is reassured and is provided, then your economy definitely will increase. And no matter what you try to do, if you don't guarantee security, it becomes a problem, not only for you, but for your neighbors. And besides, he said that you try to be your neighbor's keeper.
So how huge are these tasks ahead of the president?
For me, the task is not huge. Ashwaju is big enough to handle those problems. Like I said, he's a product of the struggle. He has not wandered into office. He's well prepared for it. He has a blueprint to tackle all of the sundry matters. He has a good team. He has very big network, and those networks are very, very important. Remember that before he came into government, a lot of big countries have been coming to see him at home, discuss with him, and so many other things. So if he does not have that potential, I don't think they will come. So they see him as someone that is ready to hit the ground running from day one. And of course, protect their own interest. Which of course is to ensure that your country is safe. You can imagine if there's any catastrophe in Nigeria, it's going to create a very big problem for the world.
So apart from strengthening democratic ideals in the region, what other areas do you think the president needs to focus on as ECOWAS chairman? Human
capital. Nigeria is very populous, and I'm very happy that the president is taking the issue of the census very, very frontally and all of that. It helps us to plan. You have a lot of Nigeria globally. You have more Nigerians in here, and each and every one of these Nigerians have great potentials. So if he's able to harness this potential to our own opportunity, the better for the sub-region, the better for Africa. Then we can also export them like China is doing right now, you understand, to bring in the much foreign investment and capital that we need. And once we do that, it also, goes well for the country.
So is it just about human capital for you?
For me, it's human capital. The next is infrastructure. But if you don't have a good human capital, you cannot have a robust infrastructure. We cannot go getting foreigners to come and develop our climate. It won't really work. We can't become a second citizen in our own climate. So definitely you need to invest in education. When you do that, like the president have done with the student loan that he's providing, then you build the human capital. By the time you build the human capital, you build all stratum of human development within the Nigerian state.
All right, so earlier you talked about the big brother role, which I know you're aware that this has caused some kind of division, divided opinion among Nigerians. How do you think President Tinubu should handle this?
The big brother role is very important. Nigerians have always played that. Pre-independence, post-independence, we've always done that. Remember that Nigeria had helped so many African countries to gain independence, you understand? And Nigeria was very, very instrumental for South Africa to gain its independence. And many of these freedom fighters did come to live in Nigeria, like Thabo Mbeki and Nelson Mandela and all of these people, they read here. In terms of health also, the King of Saudi was at the time coming to Nigeria to get medical care. So Nigeria has always provided that big brother support, not only for African countries, but for many countries all over the world. Our potentials are big. You understand? Our resources is big.
Absolutely.
So if we can harness it, we'll in no time, take the center stage away from America and some other big countries. Remember that Nigeria had television before many countries in the world, especially in Europe. When we had TV, France never had TV, Germany never had TV, and so many of them. So when they say Nigeria is back, they know what they are saying by saying so.
All right, so some Nigerians have said, this is 2023, and of course, we have our own numerous challenges for us to be playing the big brother role. Isn't this too much of a task on the presidents who have just assumed office?
No. You see, there are many of our challenges that can be solved if we annex our opportunity to other countries. One is for commerce, you understand? Instead of taking primary goods out and turning them around and bringing them back here, why don't you just go there, create the enabling environment there in order to pave way for people to come invest in Nigeria? And by doing so, you're also opening up your economy for a robust commercial activity. You cannot live in isolation. It's not possible. And the more you expand, the better for you.
So we're yet to define the foreign policy thrust of the Tinubu presidency. What kind of policy do you foresee him pursue?
He has started it already. You understand, for him to have removed subsidy is a very huge milestone because we're going to be saving money. I've not heard the Tinubu administration making plans to go borrow money, right? We're saving money. As it is right now, Nigeria have saved over 400 billion naira, which is a lot of money that can be plowed into other sundry matters. As we go on, you can imagine the kind of money we would have saved in the next 6 months. So it means that issue of ASU, issue of the NMA, and infrastructural matters, you understand, would have been resolved. There'll be a lot of money to take care of that. Even money to take care of our security requirements would have been provided for, and also to pay debts and all of these things. So these issues are very, very important. Tax waivers. Recently, the government just, removed some tax and also reworked some policies in order for industrialization to grow and the economy to also, be rejigged. These are policies that are very important. And the central bank, some of its policies, especially as it concerns dollarization and all of these things that have been reworked, it gives investors confidence. So more people will readily have more confidence in our economic system, and opportunities will come in.
All right, so because ECOWAS is regarded as an economic bloc, what impact will the African Continental Free Trade Area have on Nigeria and the region?
Well, the free trade thing is very, very good because, it helps to promote harmony among countries and, of course, bring in the needed foreign investment that you need and all of these things. So it helps to open up. Besides, Nigeria has already signed so many treaties, you understand, in the past, allowing member nations to come freely, go freely, do commerce within your enclave. So when the president said he was opening border, he was only respecting the treaties that Nigeria have signed within the ECOWAS structure and all of that. So it's good that you obey treaties because if you don't, investors won't have confidence in you. You understand? So it's always very good to do so.
So let me quickly take this. Nigeria is yet to open its borders with its neighbors. Do you see emergence of President Tinubu as ECOWAS chairman?
Open the borders. They will reopen the borders.
All of the borders?
Yeah, they will reopen the borders.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they will reopen the borders.
All right. So what's the impact of that now?
It allows for competition. right? When you have competition setting in and all of that, it will allow for reduction in price. You understand? Take, for instance, we said we're closing our borders to allow for the production of rice and what have you. Rice, as at before the borders were closed, was just 7,000 naira. Right now, rice is about 40,000 naira. So you closing your border does not readily means that it's going to improve on your economy, especially when you are not producing. But when you're producing, especially for energy, because the energy is very, very important, electrical energy. So opening your borders and many of these things, but again, you must be strict while you're opening your borders so that you don't allow a lot of things that you don't necessarily, want to come in. And that is why it's good that the president is the head of ECOWAS now. So he will have to make sure that he talks to his brother nations to respect the treaties and not just open their own border for all of these things to come out. Because if we maintain our border and they don't maintain their borders, remember that we don't have the enormity to protect all of our flanks in our borders. So the much you can help them protect their own area, the better for all of us.
All right, so let me have you react to this. I mean, some Nigerians say other member states gain more than we do as a country. How true is that?
No, they don't gain more, right? Before these treaties were signed, you understand, eggheads were brought in to look at what will be our own advantage in all of these things. So as long as we implement provision of those treaties, no country tend to gain more. In fact, Nigeria, from my own standpoint, tend to gain more from them because they would have been able to protect your country in terms of security for you from a far point, and you also will be able to produce and sell a lot of your commodities and services to them. They don't have the enormity to provide what they need, right? We have that enormity. I mean, if not for the energy drop that we had, Michelin had to leave and some of these big companies had to leave. If they were here, they do come here to buy and go back to sell. So we were at that advantage. And with the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu presidential administration in place, we are going to revamp what we have lost for our own gain. And Nigeria tend to gain more, from that. And they also tend to help us more from so many other matters. And of course, being our own major off-taker for many of our goods and services.
All right, so I'm sure some Nigerians are wondering, I mean, President Tinubu is just about 2 months in office. What do you think prompted other member states to allow him become the chairman of ECOWAS?
Because they know the capacity that he possesses. A lot of them have met him before. A lot of them have read about him. A lot of them have seen what he has done in Lagos. Don't forget that Lagos is the 6th biggest economy in Africa. And the economy of Lagos also reverberates on their own economy. So they've known him from that point. And they also saw his involvement in the civil rights. They saw his involvement in the private sector when he was in ExxonMobil. I was able to help turn around the fortune of Mobil in Nigeria for good. So this is a man that a lot of people have seen. He's just like you as a journalist. You will not readily know yourself, but of course your viewers, a lot of them that are fanatical about you would have known a lot of things about you that you don't know yourself. TVC is well watched all over. It's one of the biggest TV stations in the world. You might not know the enormity of your potential, but people that are watching you from afar do know what you possess.
All right. So as a roundup, President Tinubu is about 2 months in office, like I said earlier. I would like you to assess his administration so far.
He has performed beyond the call of duty, if I may say that. And like I've said on this program many a time, that he's a man with a plan. A man with a plan. I've assessed every of his journey, and he's going to reassess it as the journey goes on. And I do foresee, maybe in the next 12 calendar months or 16 months, I foresee that perhaps he will be asked to come and head the African unity and all of that, the AU. You understand? So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. He has a 4-year plan already in place, so he's not going to stumble in office. He's going to key into his plan, and that is why you don't see him, doing things that are not meaningful. For every statement he makes, for every policy he works on, these are bangers that is helping to improve our well-being in this country.
All right, just like I ask everyone who comes on the program, what other areas would you like the president to focus on?
The major area right now that I really want him to really help rejig very quickly is security. And that is why I gave him thumbs up for changing the service chiefs and bringing in younger blood, people who lead from the front line and not from the back end. And they've just hit the ground running. You saw the seizure of the stolen crude that happened. That didn't happen many years in this country. 800,000 barrels of crude oil, that's a lot. And for his own ingenuity to have given the new chiefs the opportunity to carry out such matters, you're going to see many more things coming upstream. Then the second thing that he has done that makes me very happy is education. Because when you take security off, you bring in education second. Education helps to build your human capital, and everything can ride on it.
So finally, before I let you go, President Tinubu's mandate is being challenged in court. How worried are you?
I'm not worried. It's part of democracy. You understand? There's always a need for us to test our legal system. I'm very confident that he won the election. We have all the evidences to prove that he won the election. So allow people to test the law. And at the end of the day, they are also going to pay some damages in court, you understand, for wasting the time of the judiciary. But again, it also helps our judicial system to improve.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I've been speaking with the Organizing Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC in Lagos State, Honorable Adewale. Tonight we focused on President Tinubu's emergence as ECOWAS chairman. Thank you very much, Honorable, for coming on.